And yet it's no longer, where that, where we're being led by that
Let's
deeper.
talk about that a little bit. What you are
Yeah.
sharing, I think I'm getting so excited, right? Like the passion, like someone sent me a feedback. Yvonne, you're spiritual. You're supposed to only talk like this and really low. I'm like, well, I'm spiritual enough to get so excited about life and like say yes to things. So just for those of you who are expecting the spiritual people just sound a certain way. Anyways, so I'm getting so excited because I do like what you are saying. Is like some of us get so engaged, attached, and ego-based attachment, right? And ego is not bad. There's egoism and there's egotism. Egoism is the healthy I, right? What you
Yes.
needed for succeeding, for surviving, for thriving, for helping humanity as an individuated aspect of the collective consciousness.
Yeah.
Now, egotism is when it's about me. It's about I don't want anybody to see my shadow, my dark side. I'm all fine. I'm perfect. So there's an attachment-based ego on I'm going to just do this, even if it's not alignment with who I am today. Or even if, maybe we came out of alignment and that story is no longer ours, right? There's a lot of studies about how people have incredible revelations and they say, oh, I wish I could do this. And they name it out loud. And because they don't take action or they don't get into alignment with that, someone else catches it. God or infinite intelligence or the great spirit is sending fish for us to eat consistently. Mm-hmm. There is a multiplication of the fish. This is a metaphor of Jesus in the Bible that I love. There's a consistent, abundant multiplication of the fish descending to us from the heavens, maybe ascended from whatever your beliefs are, right? But arriving into our now for us, when we hear the inner voice, the story telling of God inside of our souls, telling us this is your call. Will you take it or not? Will you accept it or not? Mm-hmm. Some of us are so fixed and so like egotistic, like this is what I need to do. And maybe it's not relevant anymore. Maybe there's an aspect of letting go and coming to redemption with yourself by coming to truth with yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So in a way, I think that your map, your work that you do brings them to this kind, because we're about to talk about divine union, right? And this attachment to not doing the deep work, this attachment to photoshopping their personalities, their stories, their books. Oh my gosh, the books is like, I gotta make it sound like if I am this or like I live that one. It's a lie. It's called lies, right?
Yes.
So in a way, you bring them to you host a space for them to safely go dive deep into themselves and come out so powerfully more honest. And when you write a book and when you share a story, when you do a video, when you do a copy, anything you share in the world, you're actually sharing flowers that will keep blooming instead of weeds, that will create more scarcity in the world. So let's talk about that. So once people address those pieces, right, and they begin the path to what your map does, your story, walk us through that. How does this separation, this fragmentation, once it's worked through with your help, leads to divine union? And what is divine union, Kristina?
We could talk about that for more than 45 minutes.
Lifetimes, beloved. That's what we're reincarnating. That's why Katerina Satori told us, let's reincarnate.
That's right.
Remember her? We were in a boat, Kristina and I, with the incredible Katerina Satori that soon we're hoping to have her in this podcast. But she turns to us in her bed and she says, beloveds, I decided we are going to reincarnate. I'm like, what? We're all like, what? Oh, but you can take 100 years. We'll come back. I'm like, all right, we're coming back. So yes, Kristina. So share with us
about that. We'll take a little break.
Oh my gosh. So that's why maybe we'll reincarnate. So tell us a lot. Walk us through this. How do you help them return like to the wholeness or your process? And then what is divine union and how do people experience it with your work?
Such a rich, deep conversation here, which I love so much with you always. And, I find that when we've done, typically there are, we take many rounds through the spiral, through this wheel. And, through this kind of archetypal experience of our human experience. And I won't go too deeply into this, but just to kind of set the frame, there's myths throughout the ages as myth is a mirror for us to see ourselves. And, in Joseph Campbell's model, the monomyth, the hero's journey, that was this kind of the mirror of those stories was this patriarchal age, this overexpressed masculine principle that, with the overculture, and that is a lot of the material world. It's a lot of the achievement, it's success. It's that lone hero who, takes it all upon themselves and sort of proves themselves and individuates that healthy I that you were talking about. And that's kind of the first step. And then as we go deeper in Maureen Murdoch's journey, the heroine's journey, that is more of an inner quest to wholeness, where, we see the feminine that was repressed and denied through that hero's journey model, through all this, this patriarchal age, and we return to the feminine. We heal we go into the unconscious, we heal that feminine, we reclaim that part of ourselves and come into wholeness with our masculine and feminine. And what I see as the new myth, which is kind of the architecture of the new myth that I see is this transformational story map I created. But at the heart of it, the new myth is about as humanity, our return to divine union. And we need each step in the process in order for us to be refined to this place where we're ready for that. And so as we're in the process and we go around the wheel and the spiral so many times, and each time we're refined, as we get to some of those more subtle levels, it can, that place of the spiritual ego can be a very tricky place. And because we do feel aligned, much more aligned with God than we were when we were sort of unconscious in that external sourcing. And so, as we walk through these thresholds, that first death that allows us to hear the call of there's something more, right? This isn't it anymore. What is it? I'm ready to let go of whatever I've built, whatever those external tethers are. I'm, being willing to let go of what most people cling to, for that safety, whether it's an illusion or not. And, moving through that first death and then into divine surrender, that's kind of the 6 o'clock point on the wheel, which, I call 6 o'clock with God, where unless we truly just purify and let go of all of those attachments and entanglements and all the things that have us tethered to that value outside of ourselves, success outside of ourselves, happiness, worthiness, all of that. When we let that go in a true moment of surrender, right? This is where people can kind of do a quick little meditation and quote unquote, give it to God and then kind of carry on, move it along, keep with the to-do list. And it's like that true surrender moment is really a deep moment of despair in my experience and in many of the stories that I've witnessed. And in order for us to really meet ourselves in that moment and allow the divine into our space, we've got to create the space for that, which is a lot of that death and letting go and purification. And once we align again, that kind of 6 o'clock alignment with the divine, that fuels us in this way that the external cannot. And so we get a little battery jump, right? From spirit, that it all of that energy begins to just flood and fill the space that we've created in that death and that purification and letting go. And then as we reclaim our power as divine creators, as we see all the old, the waves that crash on the shore of like just all the old ways that we have been programmed, or we see the parts of ourselves that are still attached, or whatever it might be in that reclamation, we see it, we bring it back, we transmute it, and now it's part of us again. And then that final threshold that we cross before we kind of move into the return and the integration, which is what leads us to the union, is that moment of the last temptation, which, you and I have talked a lot about and had many experiences with, throughout
Oh
our
yes,
journeys.
I'm presented with the last temptation every time I'm going to go to either my next level or I wanna, revert into something new. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the moment where it's like this invitation of the old. It's this invitation to say,
Wow.
right? You've
Wow.
made it this far. You're just one more step and you're in that return. You're in that integration. You're sort of back in the world, but full of that divine spirit and power. And now, in that return, you just live it. You walk it, you live it. And that's that's the experiential piece I was talking about at the beginning. That's what really, truly brings you into that unified, co-creative, divine alignment where, each step is a divine assignment, right? And so much can change. And so we need to be willing to hold it very loosely and still in our integrity, continue to build and take each next step that is in alignment. But that last temptation, that's also where I see a lot of people, especially leaders, get caught. And, that's whether it's the old comforts, the old certainty or security, a certain kind of a carrot dangle from the old. A lot of times it involves money. A lot of times it involves, something that would be kind of a quick fix, easy thing for me to do. Like, and it still has that frequency of the old, though, where this moment, what that's doing for us, for our walk with the divine, is it brings us into this like just lived integrity in this way where we are incorruptible. We are fully in alignment with divine law, divine order, and our true essence in this way that we trust that we don't need to reach back into the old in order to be supported. We don't need to reach into that external world to find our sourcing or our money or our support or our validation or value. These are the moments that show us kind of what we're made of. And if we really have the trust in ourselves and in the divine to know that if that's a no, the yes that is coming for us is so much more powerful and so much more aligned that we are stronger. We are, our foundation is stronger than those temptations of the old world, the outer world, the matrix. And so for us to really be able to build the foundation of this inner temple and receive that divine provision and those divine commands for us to really like birth miracles and beauty and all of what we're here to share and create into form, we must refine ourselves, at these gates, at these moments, at these thresholds. And so they become more subtle as we go. And if we're not present and attuned and really listening to each of those, invitations into the old, or to those, those kind of little voices inside that are calling us forward into the new, we'll miss it, and then we go for another loop. And sometimes that's part of our refinement too, is, reaching for the old, seeing where that leads again, reminding ourselves, and then coming back to another choice point where we can make a different choice.
Wow, wow, wow. I think you just brought us back